I'm going to go over the Tim and Tom worksheet. So if you don't have this yet, you need to go into the pre-calc course, go to Life After College Budget Project. Then you click on the Tim and Tom calculations, and then it's going to ask you to make a copy of this document. So just click on make a copy, and then it should open something that looks like this. Now, I did make a mistake in this. I missed the year 18, so you'll kind of see this. I missed year 18 here. So click on the 19, right click on it, click insert cells, shift down, and then you'll be able to type in year 18 there. Okay, now if it's already fixed and that's not a mistake on yours, don't worry about it. But if you're missing year 18, make sure you take care of that first. All right, then here's the story about Tim and Tom. You can pause the screen and read this. Otherwise, I'm just going to highlight some various things about this story that are going to be important. So basically, Tim and Tom are twins, and they have identical jobs, and they get identical bonuses each year. So they get a bonus of $2,000, but the way that they use this bonus is different. So for Tim, which I'll just highlight him in green. So Tim here was concerned about the future. And so what he did is each year he invested his $2,000 bonus in a savings plan, getting 9% interest compounded annually. Then at age 30, he decided to start spending his bonus and going on vacations. And he did this until he was 65 years old. And I guess it's worth noting here also that they start all of this stuff at age 20. Okay. So from age 20 to 29, he invests his income, his $2,000. Then at age 30, he starts taking vacations. Then Tom, on the other hand, believed that his, wanted to, believe in his youth and that life is too short to save right away. So for the first 10 years, he spends his $2,000 on vacations. Then at age 30, he begins to invest his $2,000 in the savings program that gets you 9%. And then he continued this until he was 65 years old as well. Okay. So then throughout the years, they become disconnected from each other. Then at 65, they get together and then they start comparing. Okay. So worthy to note here for Tim, okay, kind of the things that Tim does is for the first 10 years. Okay. So for 10 years, he invests his $2,000 at 9% interest, right? Then from 30 to 65. So then for 35 years, he goes on vacation, okay, and spends the money. Tom is kind of the exact reverse of this, right? So Tom, for 10 years, goes on vacation. So for the first 10 years, he vacations. Then for the next 35 years, until age 65, he saves. Okay, so then he invests the $2,000 at 9%. So we're going to look at calculating this, and I want you to calculate this on that spreadsheet. So I want you to go to this spreadsheet, and we're going to make Excel kind of do the heavy lifting for us, or Google Sheets in this case. So here's the deposits that Tim's going to put into the account, and then how much money he's going to have. And here's Tom's. So first off, for the first 10 years, Tim is depositing his $2,000. So let's type in 2,000. And he's going to do this for the first 10 years. So you can certainly type in 2,000 all the way down. You can also just grab this little square here and pull this box down to 10, and it'll just fill in 2,000. Then for the remaining years, Tim deposits nothing, right? Because he's spending his money on vacations. So from year 11 down to year 45, okay, so pull that down. Tim deposits nothing into his bank account. Okay, so here's the stuff that he's depositing each year. Then Tom, on the other hand, deposits nothing in the first 10 years because he's out spending it on vacations. So from 0 to 10 years, Tom deposits nothing. Then for the remaining 35 years, he deposits $2,000 each year. So type that 2,000 in and then pull this down to 45. So he's depositing $2,000 all of those years. Okay, so let's take a pause on this and go back and think about a couple of things. So if Tim, and let's think about how much they're actually investing themselves. So Tim spends 10 years investing that $2,000, right? So 10 times 2,000 means that Tim is actually putting away $20,000 of his own money. Okay, so he deposits 20,000. Where Tom is doing 35 years at $2,000. So 35 times 2,000 means that Tom is investing $70,000 of his money in the account. Okay? So just something to think about as we're going. Tim is putting in 20,000, Tom is putting in 70,000. And then remember that they're making interest on this. Okay? So we're going to set up some formulas here. So if you click on this total, okay, so this is going to be Tim's total after the first year. So we're going to hit equals. And then this is going to equal Tim's investment. So click on cell B2 times, now remember he's making 9% interest. So this is going to be 100% plus the 9%. So the growth factor is 1.09, which is 109% as a decimal. So then if you click enter after the first year and ignore this suggestion, so say, no, I don't want to autofill. So after the first year, Tim actually has $2,180. So we got $180 in interest, right? So now this second year, okay, and we're going to do a formula for this again. So this second year, okay, Tim is going to make interest on, so put a parenthesis, he's going to make interest on what he has in the bank already, which is this $2,180, plus his deposit. So click on cell B2, or sorry, B3. Close that. So that's how much money he has in the bank. C2 plus B3. Then he's going to make that 9% interest on this again. So times that by 1.09. So this second year, now he has $4,556.20. And you can see this formula. It's taking the previous total plus his deposit, multiplying that by 1.09. So then again, we could do that here. So this new one is going to equal his previous total, like his total in the bank, plus his deposit times 1.09. And if you're looking for how you get this times, it's above the 8. So you push shift 8. So here's how much he has now. Now, I don't want to have to keep typing that. That's why I have all these deposits here. So what I'm going to do is just grab this box and I'm just going to pull it down. It's just going to paste the formula and it's going to update it for each cell. So if you notice this, now it's C4B5, C5B6, C6B7. So now you can just drag this all the way down to 45. And that will just get you the total then of how much money he has in the bank. So after 45 years, he has $676,122.60. And remember, he only put in $20,000. Okay, so we got a bunch of free money here in interest. So then we're going to do a similar thing over here for Tom, right? Okay. Now, really, you don't need to do anything for these first 10 years because he has nothing in the bank, right? So he's making on this money times 1.09% of 0 is 0. Okay. Ignore this again. And then again, for this one, he's going to take his previous balance in the bank, put a parenthesis, previous balance in the bank plus this, and he's going to make 109% there. A growth factor. It's nothing, right? Because he has nothing in the bank. But you can set up the formula here so that then you can pull down this column. So just make sure you have previous cell F2 plus E3. Okay, so previous balance plus deposit times 1.09. Then you can pull it down all the way to 45. And this is what you should get if you did it correctly. So now we have their totals. And so then what I want you to do with this is I want you to go back into Schoology and open up this assignment here. And this has the Tim and Tom worksheet that I need you to actually complete. So then you'll click on this. And here's that story of Tim and Tom that we read. And then it's asking you to calculate. Okay, so I've already kind of started some of this for you, but you'll just paste in the rest of this. Okay, so you're just going to take and you're going to copy. So I had the first two. So you're going to take from here down to 45. You're going to copy this, and then you're just going to paste it into this worksheet. Okay, so just make sure that it gets in there, and then do that for this side as well. And then you're going to fill out the worksheet. So how much money had they accumulated? That's going to be this final number. So for Tim, this was $676,122.60. So you just fill that in, fill in Tom's. How much more did they have? So you're going to take and subtract these to figure out how much more Tim had than Tom. Okay, so don't actually write this, but I'm just going to tell you to subtract the totals. Then how much money had each contributed to the savings program? So remember, we talked about this. Tim invested $2,000 for 10 years. So he invested $20,000, where Tom invested $2,000 for 35 years. So he actually invested $70,000. Then figure out how many vacations they took, okay, which is when they weren't depositing, right? So Tim for the last 35 years, so he 35 vacations. Tom the first 10 years. Then there's some questions down here to answer. So answer 3 and 4. And then I'm going to help you out with 5 and 6. So there's this big formula here that you do not have to use because you're going to use a website instead. Okay, instead of having to learn this whole formula. So the website that you're going to use is again in Schoology. So go into Schoology. I have it linked here, this financial calculator. So click on that and you'll see this. And you want to click on the TVM calculator. And then you can skip the ad. And you should see this. Okay, so this is the calculator that we want. So this question right here, so read number 5, it says, how much money would you have if you invested $100 every 2 weeks at 8% for 40 years? And I kind of explained to you what each of these numbers mean. The present value is how much does the problem say you've saved already? So how much is in your account? Well, this is nothing. Okay, so your present value is 0. And then you're going to type that into your calculator at present value. So what is your payment? So how much are you putting into your account each time? And in this case, it's $100, right? So $100. So then type that into your calculator payment screen. Future value is what you're calculating in this problem. So you're going to leave this blank because you're figuring out how much is this going to be if I invest $100 every 2 weeks at 8% for 40 years. So just leave that blank. What's your interest rate? So 8%. And so you'll type this in. You don't need to type it in as a decimal, just the number. Periods is how many total times will you be depositing money into your account. So you're doing this every 2 weeks for 40 years. Okay. And there are 52 weeks in a year. Okay. So there's 52 weeks in a year. So that means that you're going to be doing this 26 times per year since you're doing it every 2 weeks. So 26 times per year, and you're doing this for 40 years. Okay, so you'll do 26 times 40 to get your total number of payments. So 26 times 40 is 1,040 payments. So this part here, periods. So 1,040 periods. And then you'll type that into here. And then you're doing this bi-weekly. So click on this drop down. You're doing it bi-weekly, meaning every 2 weeks. And then you just click on the one that's missing. Okay, so you click on this button over here. So here's the amount of money that you would have. Okay, $760,899.67. Ignore that negative. Okay, so you just ignore that negative, but then that would be the answer here. So your future value is that $760,899.67. So then how much did you actually invest over this time? So I'm not going to calculate this for you, but remember that you did $100 1,040 times. So basically you're just multiplying those together. Okay, so you did $100 into an account every 2 weeks for 40 years. So you put in $100 1,040 times. So just multiply those together and you'll get your answer. So then it says, if your salary averages $40,000 a year, what percent of your income are you saving? So the way that you figure this out is how much you're saving per year divided by your 40,000. So not this is how much you're invested in 40 years. How much are you saving per year? So figure out, you're putting in $100 every 2 weeks for 1 year. How much is that? Okay, what's that total? Remember, 2 weeks, every 2 weeks in a year is 26 times. So $100 26 times in the year. That's what you're going to take divided by 40,000. Remember, that's going to give you a decimal. So then you multiply that by 100 to get the percent. Okay, so like literally don't type this in. You're going to have to actually calculate that. You're going to have to calculate this, okay? So now in number 6, we're doing the reverse. You're actually owing money on a loan instead of saving money and earning interest. Now you're paying interest, okay? And again, there's this whole formula. You're not going to use it. You're going to use the calculator, okay? That financial calculator. So now for this one, it says you borrowed $28,000. The dealer offered you special interest of 2.2% compounded monthly if you paid the first $2,000 in cash. Okay, so now you're not taking out a loan of $28,000. Okay, your car costs $28,000. Okay, so the cost is $28,000, but you're going to pay $2,000 up front. So then your loan is for $26,000. This is how much you're borrowing. Okay. So that's how much you're borrowing. So your present value is going to be $26,000. And then what is your payment? Okay, this is what we're figuring out, because what would your monthly payment be for 4 years? So we don't know this yet. We're calculating it. Future value. So what do you want the future value of your loan to be? You want it to be $0 because you want to pay it off. So you're going to want 0 here. So when we're typing this in, so you can click reset, the current value or the present value is $26,000. We don't know the payment. We want the future value to be 0. Then the annual interest rate here was 2.2%. So again, just type it in as a number. Don't actually divide and put it as a decimal. Periods. How many total payments will you be making? Well, we're taking out this loan for 4 years. And there are 12 months in a year. So we're making 12 payments for 4 years. So 12 times 4 is how we're going to do this. And I'm just going to write that in here. Okay, but you'll actually type in what 12 times 4 is, which is 48. Okay, so you're making 48 payments total, and you're doing this monthly. So then to calculate what your payment is going to be, you hit payment. So your payment to pay off a $26,000 loan at 2.2% interest in 48 months is $566.35. So then that's what you would put here. So how much would you eventually pay for this car? Because you're not going to pay $26,000 because you're paying interest. So now what you need to do is you need to calculate your payment times 48, because that's how many times you're going to make that monthly payment. You're going to pay $566 48 times. Okay, so that's going to tell you how much you actually pay back. This number is going to be more than 26,000. Okay, so take that payment times 48. That's how much you spent for that loan. And then remember, you also have your initial $2,000 that you paid. So then add 2,000 to that. That's going to be the total that you paid. So that's how you do that worksheet. Once you're finished with it, okay, make sure you've typed out and completed all of the parts in here, including pasting your numbers in here, and then submit that. Okay, so then submit that on Schoology.